Coming up on Network Africa. Liberia's Roberts International Airport resumes normal operations after temporary suspension as president's private jet suffers landing scare. Main suspect in the murder of South African University student Olurato Mongale dies in a shootout with the police. Plus, 21 people dead, many others missing as flood ravages Mokwa local government area of Niger State, northern Nigeria. Hello and welcome to the program, the last episode for the week. I'm Layo Olarinde. We begin in Liberia. Normal operations have resumed at the Roberts International Airport, RIA, after flights were temporarily suspended following an incident involving the private jet carrying President Joseph Boakai. On Thursday night, the aircraft carrying the president back from Nigeria almost crashed while landing. Airport authorities say part of the presidential jet's landing gear malfunctioned while approaching the runway, causing a rough landing that triggered a scare and halted all flights for the night. Local media also reports that one of the plane's tires had burst upon landing. President Joseph Boakai had been returning with his entourage when the incident occurred. Fortunately, he was safely evacuated and is unharmed. He had gone to Nigeria to attend the 50th anniversary of the Regional Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. Authorities have confirmed the aircraft has been removed from the runway. In South Africa, a suspect wanted for the murder of a university student, Olurato Mongale, has been killed in a shootout with the police. The 30-year-old's body was found on Sunday in Lombardy after 2 hours, about 2 hours after she was reported missing, having gone on a date. Police spokesperson Atlanta Mate say police officers found the main suspect this morning hiding at a residential complex in the coastal town of Amanzitoti. Brigadier Mate added that the suspect, who has not been named by the police, shot at the officers who killed him after returning fire. The investigation continues as authorities work to track down 2 other suspects believed to be involved in the murder of the university students. Police have already arrested the parents of the deceased suspect. The South African Reserve Bank Monetary Policy Committee has slashed the repo rate by 25 basis points, bringing the benchmark rate down to 7.25%. The MPC deliberated on policy rates this week, wrapped up the May meeting. Now, this is the first cut since the MPC paused its rate-cutting cycle in the previous meeting. Reserve Bank Governor Leseja Kyango said 5 MPC members voted in favor of the cut, with 1 member in favor of a bigger cut.
The policy rate by 25 basis points with effect from the 30th of May. 5 members favored this action, while 1 preferred a cut of 50 basis points. While the inflation outlook appears benign, we considered an adverse scenario which illustrates the upside risks. This was based on a global slowdown triggered by escalating trade tensions where the rand depreciates sharply. The scenario showed how a country with some fundamental vulnerabilities like South Africa risks stagflation, with growth moving lower while inflation rises due to currency weakness. In these conditions, monetary policy tightens to stabilize the macro economy. In this meeting, we also considered a scenario with a 3% inflation objective, which corresponds to the low end of our target range. For some years now, internal and external analysis has shown that our inflation target is too high and too wide.
In 2024 alone, African countries lost an estimated $67.5 million in non-refundable Schengen visa application fees. And this is according to data from the Lago Collective. The London-based research has tracked European short-term visa trends since 2022 and identifies Africa as the region most adversely impacted by visa rejections. President Lauren Landau from Wits University of South Africa says these losses represent more than just financial strain. They highlight a deeper issue of access, equity and mobility for African citizens seeking opportunities abroad. Our South Africa correspondent, Innocent Samosa, has more.
Nigerians have collectively lost more than 4.5 million euros. That's over $5 million in application fees alone, trying to gain access to the 29 countries that make up the Schengen area. What are the root causes behind this persistent trend? Professor Lauren Landau, a senior researcher at both Wits University and Oxford University, weighs in.
I think the foundational issue to address is that this is not about administrative fairness. This is not a mistake. This is not about an issue with the bureaucrats and the processing. The European Union wants people to know that this system is not fair.
He describes the system as a quick mechanism for draining resources from the African continent.
This is a further way in which the European Union is extracting money from Africa and doing so in a way that is essentially asking Africans to pay for border control.
According to Professor Landau, Nigerians are losing millions of dollars annually to non-refundable visa fees. It's unfortunate, he says, but people will continue to pay, hoping for a chance. So what can prospective applicants do to increase their chances of success? And are there any ongoing policy changes that could make the process more equitable?
What we need is the European Union to hear a message from the Nigerian government, from the African Union and other African governments, that this is unacceptable, and to put at stake European investments, trade, resource extraction, etc., from Africa if they do not treat Africans more fairly in these processes.
As visa costs rise and rejection rates remain stubbornly high, the burden on African applicants continue to grow. With millions lost each year and few clear answers, the call for greater transparency and reform is louder than ever. For many, the question remains, is the system designed to keep them out or to cash in on their hopes? From Johannesburg, South Africa, Innocent Samosa, Channels Television News.
The National Primary Healthcare Development Agency in Nigeria is presenting an abstract at the American Society of Nutrition ASN conference starting Saturday, May 31st. The conference, also known as Nutrition 2025, the annual flagship meeting of the American Society for Nutrition, is to be held from May 31st to June 3rd in Orlando, Florida. It will bring together thousands of experts from around the world to explore cutting-edge scientific and policy developments in food, nutrition, and public health. The meeting will also highlight important topics such as the connection between diet, sleep, and cardiovascular health, and the role of nutrition in the development and management of the human body. The agency says it will be focusing on the short-term impact of food demonstrations on antenatal care uptake and maternal nutrition practices in Nigeria. Well, this is seen as a significant step in showcasing Nigeria's innovative public health strategies on a global stage. Well, joining us now for more on this is Professor Collins John. He is a professor of pediatrics at the University of Jos. Thank you for joining us on Network Africa.
Good morning. Thank you.
So why did NPHCDA choose food demonstrations as a strategy to improve antenatal care uptake and maternal nutrition? And what are the specific gaps, that this intervention is targeting?
Well, thank you very much for that question. You will recognize or understand that antenatal care attendance has been upside, and we don't have all the pregnant women attending antenatal as they should. And beyond that, also, we're looking at the maternal health and the nutritional status of the unborn child and subsequently of the family. So, and that's why this food demonstration was introduced as a way of boosting antenatal care attendance, as well as helping family nutrition, particularly maternal nutrition, and that of the infant and young child at home. So this study, of course, was meant to be able to see how well that food demonstration impacts antenatal care attendance, as well as improving maternal nutrition practices at home, even after the antenatal care period. So that's what the synergy that we attempted to bring in with this study. And what we find out is that with the antenatal care food demonstration, many mothers were able to access these services as it was being provided free. They were trained and were able to go home and practice some of the best practices that they learned from attending antenatal care where food demonstration was done. Thank you.
Well, presenting at the American Society for Nutrition conference that's starting tomorrow is a significant milestone for Nigeria. What does this international platform mean for the country's public health nutrition efforts? And, how do you hope the global nutrition community responds to your findings?
Yeah, thank you very much. As you will understand, you know that the Nigerian nutrition statistics has not been as we expect it to be. And so we're also being able to see if we can show up support from all over and learn best practices from others as well, even as we share the practices and share what our challenges are in this part of the country, to be able to help us create synergy, create collaboration, and also networks that can help us improve our nutritional statistics as we go on from this conference. This conference is going to be drawing experts and people from all over the world. So we want to be able to learn from them, learn what they do as we take that back home, and also be able to showcase what as Nigeria we're doing to improve the nutritional statistics that we have in our country. Thank you.
And how does, the NPHCDA plan to scale or sustain the outcomes from this intervention?
Yeah, first and foremost, we hope to, because this is the part of the dissemination of this study, and as part of the scale up, the primary healthcare is going to, the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency is going to be scaling down this practice across all the PSCs in Nigeria, saying that this becomes a fundamental part of the routine antenatal services, and hoping that mothers will be able to come in, learn from there, and then go back home and improve the practices at home and better the nutritional status of themselves, their family, and the children as well.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Collins John, Professor of Pediatrics at the University of Jos. Thank you for your time on the program.
Thank you.
Well, here in Nigeria, Niger State Governor Umaru Bago has expressed deep sympathy for the people of Mokwa local government area following the recent devastating flood that claimed several lives and destroyed properties. In a statement, the governor extended his heartfelt condolences to the families of the victims and prayed for the peaceful repose of the deceased in Aljana Fidausi. He also wished a speedy recovery to those who sustained injuries. Governor Bago has directed the Niger State Emergency Management Agency, NSEMA, and other relevant stakeholders to immediately assess the extent of the damage and take prompt action to provide relief and support to the affected communities. The destructive flood severely impacted Kepe community in Mokwa, resulting in the death of at least 21 people and 10 others still missing.
Call it a furious flood, and you won't be wrong. That's the state of affairs in Pege Town in Mokwa local government area of Niger State, following a severe early morning downpour on Thursday, which culminated into a flood disaster in the area, sweeping away anything in its wake. As at the last count, the Niger State Emergency Management Agency has confirmed at least 21 deaths. with 10 others missing as search and rescue operations continue. Meanwhile, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, says it has activated its MENA Operations Office to deploy search and rescue officers and mobilize support equipment.
I never seen this one before.
On his part, the state governor, Umaru Bago, is commiserating with the people of Mokwa local council area over the disaster, as he directs the State Emergency Management Agency and other concerned groups to take necessary action.
We'll take a break now on the program. Still to come. The UN Secretary General lays a wreath to honor peacekeepers who have lost their lives in the line of duty since 1948 as the body marks International Peacekeepers Day. Welcome back to the program. The United Nations says the humanitarian situation in Sudan is deepening as sustained fighting, ongoing displacement and rising health emergencies continue to fuel humanitarian needs. Addressing journalists in New York, UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric says about 2,800 people, primarily women and children, have fled renewed fighting in the town of Dibedad and are now scattered across the locality of Al-Kuos in South Kordofan with limited access to basic protection and services. Separately, Mr. Stefan also expressed concern about the alarming rate of cholera outbreak in Khartoum State, with a reported 80% increase in suspected cases over the past 2 weeks.
Situation there. Turning to Sudan and the worsening humanitarian situation there, our humanitarian colleagues are warning that the crisis is deepening as sustained fighting, ongoing displacement, and rising health emergencies continue to fuel humanitarian needs. In North Darfur State, artillery shelling continues to impact residential areas of El Fasher in the Abu Shuk camp for internally displaced people. Local sources report daily civilian casualties, and recent days has seen an intensification of bombardments at night. In South Kordofan State, the International Organization for Migration reported last week that about 2,800 people, primarily women and children, fled renewed fighting in the town of Dibedad. They are now scattered across the locality of Al-Khuz in South Kordofan, as well as other localities in neighboring West Kordofan with limited access to a basic protection and services. The situation in the state capital, Kaduguli, has also been very seriously deteriorating in recent weeks, with intense shelling and humanitarian access largely cut off. In northern state, authorities report that about 6,000 people who fled from North Darfur, Khartoum, and West Kordofan due to insecurity arrived in Daba in northern state between the 12th and 22nd of May. Meanwhile, a cholera outbreak in Khartoum State is worsening at an alarming rate, we are told. Our humanitarian partners in the state report an 80% increase in suspected cases over the past 2 weeks, bringing the total number of cases to more than 8,500. The World Health Organization has supported the delivery of medical supplies to some hospitals in Khartoum, but much more is needed to contain the outbreak.
Mauritania's Sidi Ould Tah has been elected president of the African Development Bank Group. Mr. Tah was elected among 3 other contenders at the bank's annual meetings held in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, by the bank's Board of Governors, comprising finance and economy ministers or central bank governors of the group's 81 regional and non-regional member countries. This comes as Nigeria's Dr. Akinwumi Adesina takes a bow after serving as the president of the multilateral finance institution after a decade in office. Our business editor, Inijon Mekwa, has the report.
After 4 days of intense meetings, considerations, and asking the question of who can best handle the future of the African Development Bank, Well, the climax of the 2025 annual meeting has been reached.
The responsibility lies with the Board of Governors, which is the highest decision-making organ of the group, appointed by each member country from the 81 regional and non-regional areas. The body went through 4 rounds of voting in the 4 days, eliminating candidates with the lowest vote in the first 3 days of the exercise, leaving 3 of the 5 candidates for election. And finally, the president-elect of the African Development Bank Group is revealed. The Mauritania candidate, Sidi Ota.
Now let us go to work. I am ready.
He clinched the winning position with a 76.18%, far beyond the required 50.01%. Mr. Tai is the former president of Arab Bank for Economic Development for Africa. He is also a former Minister of Economic Affairs and Finance for his country, Mauritania. Mr. Tai will assume office officially on the first day of September 2025 for a 5-year term, when the tenure of Dr. Akinwumi Adesina will come to an end. Ini John Mekwa, Channels Television News.
Well, as part of efforts towards bridging Nigeria's digital divide, the federal government has launched the pilot phase of its fiber-to-hostel connectivity initiative, starting with the University of Lagos. The project aims to deliver high-speed internet to students, hostels, empowering learning and innovation through reliable access to digital resources.
The University of Lagos, located in Akoka, famously known as the University of First Choice and the nation's pride, is the pioneer institution selected for the pilot phase of the federal government's fiber-to-hostel connectivity initiative.
You may be seated, please. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. This event, themed Bandwidth That Builds Bright Minds, Connecting Students, Empowering Futures, is to officially launch the service, which aims to deliver high-speed fiber optic internet with an average speed of between 50 to 100 Mbps to student hostels.
Of Communication, Innovation and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani.
Unveiled by the Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani, the initiative will provide each hostel with dedicated fiber links, secured Wi-Fi and continuous performance monitoring to ensure consistent service delivery.
This fiber-to-hostel initiative complements several critical elements of our ministry's blueprints, which includes providing internet connectivity through Project 774 to all local government secretariats in the country. We must recognize that broadband is an essential part or essential tool to the development of the nation, similar to what you find in electricity or clean water. Broadband powers academic research and collaboration. It also powers access to digital learning platforms, it powers access to and support to startups and online businesses, and also powers the participation of all of our people in a borderless digital economy. And it must be made available to people who need it the most, of course, our students. The Fiber to Hostel project is one of the initiatives of the National Broadband Alliance for Nigeria, which is our ministry's demand-side broadband strategy to increase internet usage by directly connecting critical public institutions such as universities, hospitals, and government offices. All the hostels in these universities will now be connected to fiber. You may not know, when you say connectivity to fiber, it's extremely important. It's not the same as the connectivity you have on your phone or dongle. This is the quality of connectivity that you require as a student in 2025 to be able to thrive, but also realize your potentials.
Or International Peacekeepers Day, the peacekeeping chief Jean-Pierre Lacroix has reaffirmed the UN's commitment to maximizing its own cost effectiveness, adding that it is imperative that peacekeeping should be provided with the resources needed to deliver on its mandate. Addressing newsmen in New York, Mr. Lacroix says many expressions of support as well as many pledges were made to supporting peacekeeping missions, assuring that peacekeeping remains very strongly supported by member states. Meanwhile, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres laid a wreath to honor the more than 4,400 UN peacekeepers who have lost their lives in the line of duty since 1948.
With more than 130 delegations attending, more than 60 delegations at ministerial level, and so many expressions of support, so many pledges that were made to support peacekeeping. The main takeaway from the Berlin meeting was that peacekeeping remains very strongly supported by member states.
Over the decades, more than 2 million women and men have served in 71 missions across 4 continents. And I'm deeply grateful to all member states for these invaluable contributions. In the communities and countries in which they serve, UN peacekeepers are an important symbol of the United Nations at its best. And together, they have helped improve millions of lives, protecting people, preserving peace, and providing hope, rebuilding infrastructure, repairing institutions, and ensuring life-saving assistance. With their support, nations around the world have made a transition from war to peace.
And just before we end the program, a quick correction of the guest we had earlier on in the program. We were speaking to Professor Collins John, the Professor of Pediatrics, University of Jos. And that's where we end the program for today and for the week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde. Have a lovely weekend.